just wanted to jump on here and share something that really assisted me on my yoga journey, and it's something that came to me in a moment of a spontaneous moment of I guess insight. It just landed into my head. But the difference between doing and being, and ultimately there is no difference from an absolute point of view, but I wanted to relate it to what the majority of us experience in, say, a physical practice of yoga or any other physical practice, whether it's doing some sort of martial art or circuit training or gym work, lifting weights or going for a run. But I used to think that the more that I did, the quicker I would get the results, but actually what was happening, I was damaging my body more. And then I was reflecting on why did I put so much effort in yet still didn't get the results that I wanted, despite following everything to the T. You're busting your gut, you're doing everything, you've got the right diet, you're putting the effort in, you're planning, you set your goals are smart, you're getting up on time, motivation's there, and it goes like that. However, the results that you want don't seem to come, and it seems to get harder and harder. And the analogy that came to mind was one of a car. So let's say you're driving a car, but it's got a wonky frame. Doesn't matter how good the driver is or how good the engine's working, but because the frame is wonky, it's never going to perform to its optimal level. So you can't keep driving it, i.e. you can't keep doing stuff and expect it to improve. You have to take the car, you have to get out of the car and take it to a mechanic and get it fixed. So similarly with the body, with yoga, there's not just the physical practice, which I put pranayamas, or the breathing practice, in there as well, with the asana, the physical postures. You have to work on changing the root cause. What caused the structure to be off balance in the first place? And with my spiritual study and my own experience, I've been reading various texts, and the one that really assisted me the most on my journey was a book, text called A Course in Miracles, combined with other texts. And what I came to realize, I started discovering the power of my own mind and how my thoughts were my mind is the cause and the body is an effect. And when I look back to when I did get results because I might not have got the results I wanted, but I did get some good results, and I did get some results, and it did work. So it wasn't all a failure. But my results have started to accelerate, and I'm feeling much better and happier in myself. And I did learn a lot along that journey. So sometimes when we fail, it's not because we're never going to get there. It's just because we're going to learn something else along the way. But I think understanding, if I'd understood how the mind works sooner, I probably would have got results faster. So this is a message for whoever wants to pick this up and start playing with it. But if the root cause doesn't change, the effect doesn't change. So when I did get the results that I did start to see results because I did make a change. So I changed my diet, for example, from a very high carbohydrate, one with lots of sugar and carbs, very minimal protein, and I changed it. This was when I was like around 19 years old. And I got some really good results. But that's because, first of all, I changed my mind about what I wanted. I looked at myself, or I felt myself, and I thought, I don't want this anymore. I want something different. So I hired a personal trainer, and he prescribed something to me. He gave me a really good workout routine and diet plan, which worked for me at the time. And that change in mindset, as well as the changed actions, got me the results. But what I noticed was when I did actions which didn't involve a change of mindset, the actions could have been spot on. They could have been the tried and tested methods which work for loads of people, but what didn't work for me because I didn't have the change in mindset. And there's a couple of things I learned, which was the underlying cause has to be found first before anything else after that comes. So before we feel something, we're thinking something, whether it's a conscious set of thoughts or a subconscious or unconscious set of thoughts, then we feel something and then we tend to act. But if we can break that down and come back to the root cause, which is at the level of the mind, and this is where meditation or mindfulness practice comes in, where we're able to observe our thoughts and then the subsequent flow of emotions and then the subsequent actions. And if we can, we don't need to go anywhere or need anyone to be able to do those things. It does help to have someone guide you through if you're getting stuck. But the actual process takes place in yourself, where if you're able to let go of a set of thoughts that are making you do something and feel a certain way, and then make you do something, like I'll think of an example. Like one of mine was, when I felt anger coming up, I'd want to reach for sugar and carbohydrate, and it would help keep the anger at bay. But I didn't work on the anger. I didn't work on the root cause, because I didn't ask what was causing the anger in the first place. What thoughts, what beliefs were causing that anger. And it's taken me years to pick it apart. But as I started to work on the root cause, I've noticed my body automatically change. And as a result of that, I changed my beliefs, or I let go of limiting beliefs, and then how I felt changed. And because I felt different, obviously my hormones were different, which hormones affect your body composition, which then led to a different set of actions. So the way I was moving through my daily physical life also changed. So what I like to encourage students to do, and myself, I practice what I preach, so I wouldn't share anything. I'm sharing my latest with you at the moment. So what I usually recommend to people is, yes, do your physical practice, go about your day-to-day business, but do it with intense alertness. So we've got a life to navigate. We have a certain body, and there's certain things going on, there's certain phenomena. So if you think we have, I like to break this down into 7 different data inputs into our body. So you've got your 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. You've then also got thoughts that you think, and then feelings. So you can break it down to 7, and we have, there's 7 notes in the musical scale, and then you've also got 7 chakras in the body, or 7 energy centers. So we can look at it like that, or 7 colors of the rainbow. So in each of those data inputs, those different phenomena, you're going to experience what you might label as positive and what you might label as negative. But what we do, when we sit in the middle and observe objectively, and we look at whatever's happening and allow it to be there, what happens is, over time, we start to learn about our environment and our body and our thoughts and our mind, but we remain as the silent witness. a bit like the white light that shines through or the electricity that illumines a light bulb. We are like the spirit within, which is pure, undifferentiated consciousness shining through this vessel here, and it's coming out, and we experience the world. And we tend to experience ourselves. So the world is a mirror of us. So it's a reflection of what's going on within. But if the vessel isn't purified, we can get distortions. And what causes those distortions isn't something physical. It's actually begun at the mental level, on the subtle level, or the causal level. The cause leads to an effect. Everything begins as a thought or an energy form, an invisible energy form, just like, we have the Wi-Fi signals or radio signals. We can't see them, but we can't deny their existence, because we have tools to receive and send those signals. And then those signals are transformed and converted into something visible. And it's the same with spiritual phenomena. We can tune in to these things when we purify this vessel here, which is basically just a very advanced version of, let's say, a smartphone or a laptop, a communication device. So when we go through, say, a yoga practice, an asana or a flow, if we can be intensely alert, it would be like increasing the amount of light or awareness shining onto these different phenomena. And the analogy I like to use here is one of, imagine you're in a warehouse and you're stuck in it, and the aim is to get out of this warehouse, and it's a huge warehouse, and you've got a flashlight. If you're trying to navigate with the flashlight, you can only see a little bit at a time. But then if you turn the lights on, you can see the whole warehouse at once. And it's easier to exit the room or find the way out without banging yourself as much, because there's more light shining through, but it's exactly the same thing you're looking at. So when you're going about your daily business, if you're really intensely alert, what will happen is eventually over time, you'll start to piece together what's causing certain things. So when you're in a yoga flow, say, or when you're at work, or when you're walking around the supermarket, because you're intensely alert, you might start to notice phenomena and patterns, which then might signal to your brain, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that because I felt anxious when this happens. Why do I feel anxious when this happens? Oh, I'll use my example actually. Why do you feel angry when that happens? Oh, it's because I believe I don't feel like my needs are being met. Why do you feel like your needs are not being met? And what happens is you can start to trace these things back. And this is where understanding philosophy is very, very useful. And a lot of people don't want to read or go into that realm because it's too much for them. And that's okay. It might be too much now. But eventually, if you want to be free of feeling lost, hopeless, and in despair with the world we're living in, because it's going to go through, it's always going to have its highs and lows, its positives and negatives, if you like, because it's a dual universe. But what we want to do is we're not eradicating one or the other. We're sitting in the middle, and we're able to ride the waves of life without feeling hopeless and in despair. And when we do feel emotions, they'll wash through us more quickly without us feeling like we're drowning and without them sticking around. And our experience of life becomes then more divine. And once we become aware of our underlying being, what am I being? How does this thing turn up? Like, why is it that I could do the same flow as somebody else and not get the same results? It's because how I see myself, or how this body is appearing, it's an appearance, is different because of what thoughts it's being filtered through. That spirit is being filtered through a mind, and then it appears as this, what you see here in front of you. And the way you appear will be different because it comes through a different filter, if you like, or a different mind. But if the mind is purified and we can work it back to its original state, which is devoid of all fearful thoughts and abides in what we might call pure consciousness, or in a state of love or God consciousness, you will see yourself as you were created in your pure form, without the distortion of fear or ego. And fear and ego is a bit like, so in Hindu philosophy or yoga philosophy, it's called Maya, illusion. An illusion is something like seeing a mirage in the desert. It's real, you see the mirage, but it isn't water. So what you think it isn't. So when we think the world, perhaps it's out to get me, I need to defend myself, I need to fight, I need to have my defenses up, I need to be angry at that person, it's that person's fault that I'm feeling this way. Those kind of thoughts are illusory thoughts, because in reality, nobody has the ability to make you feel any sort of way. And if they do, it's because there's a faulty belief on the level of the mind, which creates the appearance of that's what's actually going on. So we're not designed to suffer. We're designed to be in a state of acceptance, joy, bliss. So our true nature is Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence. I exist, I'm conscious, and I'm in a state of bliss. That's my true nature when I'm purified. If I don't experience that in my day-to-day life, it's because my mind is still on some level distorted. So I want to look to identify by becoming aware. Awareness itself will shine away all darkness. So you don't really need to do anything except look, and allow yourself to look and feel everything, because it can't destroy you. Then what happens is you'll still go about the same life. You might make some changes because you'll be in a new brainwave state. You'll have new feelings, new emotions, which are lighter. You'll feel more courageous, more loving, more compassionate, more kind. And because of that, you're more, as you move through space and your daily life and interact with other people, because you're more loving and compassionate, you won't feel like others are making you suffer. You'll be kinder to your environment. And so the environment will be kinder to you. Because if I punch the wall, it hurts. But if I rest my hand on it, I can just lean up against the wall and it'll take some of my weight. If I attack somebody, they're likely to attack me back, unless they're a loving person. If someone attacks you and if you respond with love, it can soften them. And this is where the true change of yoga doesn't come from doing an asana. It comes from changing the mind, because the asana does help you change, or can help you change the mind. But there might come a point where asana can't take you any further because the mind hasn't inverted. It's not gone inwards. So inverting the mind and looking inwards as well as outwards. So from the outside, we can learn about the outside world. Great, we need to learn. So in England, we drive on the left-hand side of the road. So that's something we observe in the outside world. But what about inwardly? So if I drive on the left and let's say somebody cuts me up and I get annoyed, that's something for me to look at inwardly, because somebody cutting me up, automatically I might have made a story up about that very quickly, and that story is creating suffering within me, and then it's creating anger and resentment towards the individual that might lead to something down the line. I might see that individual again, I might turn into an argument and potentially a fight, which can lead to actual damage then. But even those hormones that create, say, anger and rage, depression, and the lower level emotions, hormonally are chemicals, so they can affect how the body shows up. So yogis, some of them traditionally would just sit in meditation, and it would be a form of psychotherapy. And so the true change is always happening at the level of mind. Physical changes can help, because when you're in a new setting, for example, or you change jobs, or you move to a new home, you start a new workout routine, you change your diet, it's changing. Your thoughts have already changed, which led to the change in action in the first place. But sometimes what we do, most of us are only aware of what's in the conscious mind, what's in the subconscious. Get into that deep subconscious. It's our core beliefs about ourselves, of who we truly are. And what spiritual study has helped me to do is identify that, one, I'm not a body. I'm a infinite eternal soul. But even that I am disappears. There is no I am, there is no individual. And initially all these things were concepts to me, but over time it's become experiential, and it continues to, I'd say, involute. So it's like, so evolution might be something, say, like I might, get stronger, or I can hold my breath for longer, and my breath slows down, I make more money, or whatever. With involuting the mind, what I've noticed is that I'm able to access deeper states of peace. And everything that I've done up until this point has assisted in that part. And one of the things I learned was that the changes were coming from the mind. So I can make more of a change in my physical structure just by being sat in meditation and going through my own practice, my own meditation practice, than I can with, say, just asana. So my asana practice has gone down a lot, whereas before that, because I didn't know how to tap into the mind, I was doing a lot of physical work. So I wasn't getting the results that I wanted, given the amount of time I was investing in the physical practice, or the breathing practice, or the diet, because predominantly they're physical solutions. And what most of us want to do is be free of mental problems. So mental problems causes emotional distress. So if I'm angry, yes, I can go for a run or lift some weights or whatever, and it can temporarily alleviate. But if I don't ask that question, why did the anger come up in the first place? It's going to be a repetitive cycle. And that's when I can get trapped in lifting weights or running or punching a bag or whatever it might be. But then that can grow, because the seed is still there. The root cause is still there, and that can then sprout into something bigger. It might sprout into, say, drug use or alcohol abuse. And then it can get bigger and bigger. So if I don't remove that root cause, that mental tendency, which creates the emotional disturbance, it's going to create a very gnarly kind of lifestyle. And underneath that, if you think of your mind like a garden, we're trying to prune all the false thoughts that don't belong there. So ego is a false appearance of the self, something that we're taking to be real, which actually isn't real. But because we're confused about who we are, how do we know what is real and what is no longer real? Because we're trying to use the confused mind to solve the same confused mind. And this is where meditation comes in, because what you do is you don't try to solve it yourself. You sit slap bang in the middle and you observe, you allow everything. When you feel compelled to move, you move. If you feel stressed, you allow yourself to feel stressed. If you resist feeling stressed, you allow resistance. You allow the resistance to feeling stressed. You allow everything and you observe. And what will happen is, that's you shining more light into the darkness of your subconscious mind. As that light comes on, yes, you will see more light, you will see more of the negative stuff, but what will happen is you'll be able to navigate better. It's the same room, but you're navigating better. And then the higher self, there is an aspect of the mind which some circles call the higher self, the true self, or the Atman. The wisdom from the heavens, if you like, will come down and will guide your life, and it will help you heal the mind and return it back to its true state. Now, you can think of heaven a bit like the internet. So if you imagine each one of our bodies is like a smartphone, there's no wires connecting it to the internet, it's wireless. If I put the phone on airplane mode, I temporarily cut off receiving new information from the wider internet. When I turn airplane mode off, I connect to the internet, I can receive new information. So just like this vessel here, this soul that's in this body, if it thinks it's a body and separate from everybody else, I can't tap into that wealth of information that's flowing between within the ether, between all living beings and in the heavens. If I turn that back on through spiritual practice, there's many spiritual practices out there, not just yoga, I can tap into that information and I can stay up to date then. And then we can all evolve together, because we are one. We're like the internet. We're all one big human family, or we're all one big soul family, all interlinked. So a few closing statements. Sit in the middle. Phenomena that you experience through the 7 senses, those that I've identified earlier on sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thought and emotion, or thought and feeling, they're going to be in the form of positive and negative. You are not those things. That's just data. You are the light of awareness, of consciousness. Think of yourself like a ball of light. That ball of light allows you to experience this body, which is like putting on being a character in a video game. The light shines through and it allows you to experience this virtual reality, if you like. That reality is a beautiful, beautiful virtual reality. The reason we suffer is because we're seeing it as something that it's not. When we start to come into the middle and observe and increase our awareness around this data, automatically the intelligence within your higher self, your soul, is going to amalgamate all this information, just a bit like artificial intelligence. It will take all this data and it will start working with it and it will learn from it. That's exactly what we're doing. So allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to think, both positive and negative. Once all that's come in, that intelligence is going to amalgamate, it's going to learn very quickly, and then you'll be better able to interact with your environment because you're allowing the data to flow through. If I close my eyes, I can't see where I'm going. I have to develop my other senses, which is a skill in itself. It's not wrong. But if I can open my eyes, I can better navigate. So open your senses, those 7 to begin with, and then you might open up your spiritual senses as well. And you'll start to perceive information which isn't visible through those 7 senses. They'll come through other centers. And that's when you'll start to be guided by what some call a divine intelligence or a divine force. Even if that doesn't happen, you'll just go about your day-to-day life and handle it much better without getting beaten up as much. Try it. Let me know how you get on. If you've got any questions or want to leave any comments, pop them in the section below and I'll get back to you. Much love, everyone.